The following is a member of the Burke Reviews podcast family. BurkeReviews.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Burke Reviews Movie Club. I'm John Burke, and with me, as always, Corey Starr.
Hello, hello, hello.
And this week on the episode, we're going to be reviewing Garden State, Zach Braff's Garden State to be exact. But before we do that, we like to catch up a little bit and talk about what we've been watching. But Corey, how you been?
Trying not to die of heat stroke. Been working some overtime, making that money. How are you?
I've been fairly busy, and yet also not busy. We recorded early. Usually we record on Friday nights, which is what tonight is. But last episode we recorded on a Tuesday, so it's been a while since we've spoken, and that means I have seen a lot of movies. I will do a quick summary of what I viewed.
You go first.
Okay, it's quite a few, but before that, I've been lesson planning, getting ready for next year, and kind of figuring out how I want to approach my classes. I teach high school film and also yearbook, which yearbook fairly runs itself. I'm more concerned with planning for my film classes. I have the best curriculum I think I've mapped out for myself ever. And yet at the same time, it's still a lot of decisions, and there's so many great movies, and I want to show them all of the movies, and that is always, of course, impossible. So, like, deciding what to show and when to show it becomes a bit of a struggle at times. Because even if they've seen a movie, it's worth watching again, but it's always up and down. But I've also been buying too many movies this month, Corey. This Criterion thing is evil.
It can be, but
Well,
we're probably gonna buy them anyway, you know what I mean? Actually,
True.
I don't know. I feel like maybe half of them we would buy anyways. We're just getting them on sale, but then we're also like, but I'm kind of getting 2 for 1. Can't pass this up. It's the price of a regular Blu-ray.
Well, I bought several, and I posted those on Instagram, but then I did buy 2 more on Prime Day, because they had an additional discount, which you pointed out to me. And
Just
then
here to help.
I got to order some for work for my classroom, which aren't mine.
Yes.
They're not, I don't get to keep them, but I pick movies that I know that will hold up if I ever leave, which I'm not planning on leaving, and I hope they have no plans on getting rid of me. But if it ever happens, I've been building the library over the years, so that, because the first 5 years I taught this class, all the movies were my personal collection. And so I've been slowly building the library over the last couple of years to make sure that if I ever leave, or if they ever get rid of me, that there's going to be a good collection of films available for the students so the class continues. And so I got to do a little shopping on the Criterion Collection for that as well. And then Isle of Dogs came out on Tuesday, so I had to buy that because I really enjoyed that movie. But yeah, so I guess, I just got to stop buying movies for a little bit, and that's probably never going to happen.
It's hard. It's really hard. I only bought, for Criterion, this time I've only bought 2. I bought Midnight Cowboy, and I'm forgetting the other one that I bought. And then for Prime Day, I only bought Tank Girl, which maybe isn't the best movie, but I like it a lot anyway.
On Criterion?
No.
Okay.
This was not Criterion. It was just part of Prime Day. And I'd been wanting it, and it was on sale for I think like 18 and then 20% off, and I was like, okay.
Well, I don't usually talk shop per se on the. I guess we kind of do, but I'm looking to start not another podcast, but a.
Holy hell.
We do the interview episodes on Top 5, and I've been trying to break away from that because I've found it very challenging to get people to commit to doing a Top 5 list, or they're a little resistant, or even when they do the list, they always want to preface it like, this list could change. It's like, yeah, that's the fun, but
it's just for right now.
Everyone gets kind of nervous. So my thought is to do called a new segment or new episode style called Defensive, and then we have a person come on and they they're gonna at some point pick a movie that they're going to get defensive about. So like you just did with Tank Girl, like, I know it's not the best. Like immediately you're like already on guard that people are gonna make fun of you. It's like me with Hudson Hawk. Telling people that I like Hudson Hawk is a risk because people are gonna be like, oh my god, you like that movie? And so I think it'd be fun to like do like a normal interview, but end with them defending a movie that they love, despite the negative reactions out there. So that might be coming in the near future, folks. I've already been talking to a few people about being guests, and I think that's the format we're going to kind of switch the interview style episodes to. But I just came from a movie, but we're going to get through our watch list. Going back to not November, good lord. Apparently my head is in November. July 11th, which is the day after we recorded our E2 Mama Tambien episode, a film Corey unfortunately did not like. I have seen Sorry to Bother You, Skyscraper, Hearts Beat Loud, The Philadelphia Story from 1940, Midnight Cowboy, 1969, His Girl Friday from 1940, Sullivan's Travels, 1941, Hotel Transylvania 3, Summer Vacation, Garden State, The Equalizer, and The Equalizer 2, which I literally just got home from. And I gotta say, Sullivan's Travels was one of my Criterion purchases, so was Midnight Cowboy. Big Tuna bought The Philadelphia Story and let me borrow it because he wanted me to see it. Sullivan's Travel might be one of my favorite films of all time now. I bought it because I'd read it was this excellent film, and I've read it's on the AFI Top 100 list, and it's on a bunch of other lists. Knew very little about it. I absolutely love the film. It is amazing. It's funny, but it's dramatic. It's just awesome filmmaking, and it's very meta for its time. Midnight Cowboy is awesome, Corey. You've not watched it yet, I take it?
No.
And I really want to push, if you are at a theater somewhere and Sorry to Bother You is playing, I think you should definitely check it out. That's to listeners and to Corey.
Because, I was going to say to me or to listeners.
Because it is, it's not a movie everyone's going to like, but it's such a unique film. It's one that I think everyone should experience. It does have some nudity, kind of, so be warned on that regard. I did bring my daughter, and I don't know that she said she liked it. I definitely think it's stayed with her. I really enjoyed it. I think there's a lot going on. It's got its share of, challenges, I guess you could say, but it's so different and innovative, and it's funny, but it's very of its time, and definitely worth a watch. The other one, Hearts Beat Loud, if this is playing near you, please go see this movie, especially if you're feeling down at all. I just feel like it's such a happy, optimistic, upbeat movie, and it's not sappy or like overly saturated with ridiculousness. It's just there's a positive vibe in the film, and it's between Nick Offerman, Toni Collette's great in it, and then I'm so bad with her name. I'm gonna get the young actress's name real quick, but I got to see this at the Florida Film Festival, but I got to take my daughter to our local theater, our local independent theater, the Polk Theater, Kiersey Clemens. But Sasha Lane is also fantastic, and I got to give a shout out to Ted Danson. I just think he's so great.
He was so great.
And Brett Haley is the director. He also did The Hero last year, which I enjoyed a lot with Sam Elliott and Nick Offerman. But you got to see that, but I don't want to jump on you. What have you seen since the last time we spoke?
Okay, so obviously Garden State. I try to be prepared for this podcast. Arachnophobia, because I've been dying to watch it lately for some reason out of nowhere. I have no idea. And Heart Beats Loud. So my friend and I were supposed to go to that murder mystery thing on Friday.
Yes.
But I had a spot, but she was on like standby.
Oh.
Which was very weird, and if we would have known that was going to happen, like, because we were going to be characters in it, and it just, yeah, so I really wanted to go, but I didn't want to go by myself, so we went and saw Heart Beats Loud, and agreed. So my heart hasn't really felt in the right place I don't even know how to really explain that. Sometimes, getting my heart back in the right place, I go to see like live music or something, but this movie totally did that for me, and I loved it so much. It's no secret that I have a crush on Nick Offerman. I'm sorry, not sorry, Megan. Da, 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 da. But I loved it so much. The music was so good, and it did just make you feel really good. And I just, teared up a lot at a couple of the parts.
For sure.
And I had to like lean around my friend and look at her significant other to see if he was doing okay, because we were like getting emotional. It was just such a good movie, and I could tell everybody, because I had to go see it at the Flicks, I could tell that everybody in the theater felt good watching it too. And I loved Ted Danson. Did he go to Woodstock? He's a bar owner that loves weed. It's just really funny, and I feel like I haven't seen him in anything in a long time.
You need to watch The Good Place.
Okay.
He is the co-star, I would say. He's probably like, it's a fairly ensemble. It's Kristen Bell's show, but Ted Danson is a vital role, and he is fantastic on The Good Place.
I don't really like her.
Oh, are you kidding?
I don't think she's funny.
Oh, I love Kristen Bell. I think she's so. In fact, I love her as a not like I'm in love with her, but like,
no, I know.
If you watch her Instagram, she just seems like one of the coolest people, and she's so down to earth. Her and her husband Dax Shepard, I just think they're like the coolest celebrities, and I don't usually feel that way, but like, I think it was during the hurricanes here in Florida, they came down and helped people in Orlando. Like, they're just awesome people, and I enjoy her generally, but I think you need to give The Good Place a try just because it's so funny. Not just her, like the people around her are also really good, but Ted Danson in particular on The Good Place. And season 1 is on Netflix. Season 2 hopefully will be there soon, because I am dying to watch it.
Is it a Netflix show?
No, I think it's NBC.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. But it's not. I think season 1 was only like a half season, they do with a lot of pilot type seasons. They're not sure how it's going to do, and man, Adam Scott shows up at some point too. So I'll just throw that in there. It's super funny. I got hooked. I don't usually binge TV anymore, and I binged that show within like a week, I think. So there's not many. I think there's only 10 episodes or 12 episodes or something like that, but it's super good. I highly recommend The Good Place. Especially if you like Ted Danson, because I think he gets to shine in that show. Now,
and I've just been catching up on True Blood again, so that's all I got.
I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast, but I have a guilty pleasure show, and Corey knows what it is. You know what it is, right?
Yes.
What is it?
Is it Friends?
It is Friends. It's a show that I've seen, I can't even tell you how many times, and I know it has tons and tons of problems. And like, there's the simplest one is that it's super white in New York, which makes no sense. It should be a mixed cast, and it is not at all. It's not representative of that state in any way, not even just with the main characters, but just like the people at the coffee shop. And it is like whitewashed New York City, and of course it's not filmed in New York City, it's filmed in LA, but it's set in New York. But I have been I throw them on when I work and when I'm doing stuff, like if I'm writing or whatever, because I've seen it so many times, so it's easy for me to have on and not watch. But I won't lie, like there are times where if I'm just not feeling like doing anything and I don't want to start a movie because I don't want to like commit to 2 hours or whatever, I'll throw an episode on. And I've been going through, I've never watched it consecutive episodes. Like, I've seen all the episodes several times because I rewatch reruns, but you just kind of hop in with reruns. But I'm like putting it on Netflix and just like going episode by episode, and I've never watched it that way. I'm through season 6. I just started season 7.
How many are there?
10. Yeah, 10 years. Which it's kind of crazy because it like I'm bad with time anyways. Like, because season 7 starts with Chandler proposing. Well, not starts. It's a few episodes in, but proposing to Monica, which was the last episode I watched, was the proposal episode. And I guess spoilers for Friends if you've never watched it. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. For real. But
yeah, like
But I do love that show, and so that's been my, like, if I'm just working, I've been throwing it on, because I rewatched The Office, and I love The Office, and I have been throwing reruns on of that when I make dinner and stuff, because it's like on Comedy Central when I'm making dinner, so I'll throw DirecTV Now on and just have it in the background.
That's what I love, because, like, I've tried to watch, because sometimes I just run out of time, and I have a confession. I will wash laundry, and I always have clean clothes, but they're one of my most hated chores is to, like, actually fold and put away the clothes. So sometimes I end up with, like, 6 or 7 loads that I have to take care of. And also, I mean, I don't wear white socks, but I have to, like, pair my husband's. And, you know, like, I've tried watching our movies, or I've tried watching any movies while I'm, like, trying to do a chore like that. And it's like, it sounds stupid because you don't really have to think about laundry, but you can't, like, divide your attention. So I love TV for that too. Like, especially if you've already seen it.
Especially if you're not reviewing it. Like, 'cause a lot of times when I'm watching movies, I have the intention of reviewing it unless I've already seen it before, or if I've already reviewed it before. But with TV, I don't usually do reviews of TV. I have a couple of times, and we've had a few other writers do it, but I don't want to do like an episode by episode review. And sometimes I just don't have enough to say about a show, but, like, and I've seen The Office dozens of times and whatever. So yeah, I'm the same way. If I'm doing anything that I need to be able to focus or whatever, TV is my go-to, or a movie that I've seen a bunch. But sometimes it's hard to, because I know I'm not going to want to start it and stop it.
I feel like with a movie though, I just want to be present. I don't know. Like, I don't want to be doing anything while I'm watching a movie. Well, like, I'm there to veg.
Like, well, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, for example. Like, I've seen that movie. I can't even tell you how many times. I could throw that on at any time. One, it will distract me for sure. I will get wrapped up in moments and not do what I'm doing. But two, once I start it, I have to finish it. Where, like, you know, I know Friends is 22 minutes. Almost every episode is only 22 minutes. So, like, I know it's almost like a time piece for me too. Like, oh, I've been working for 22 minutes, I haven't done enough, I need to take a break from TV. And sometimes I'll just let it sit on, like, the screen, because I've got my Netflix set up where it doesn't autoplay. It just stops and you have to tell it to play the next episode.
That's the most annoying thing ever, John.
Well, I did that because our cable company has a limit on our data. So to stop it, we are with a company whose name I won't say, but you only have 100 gigabytes, and because we've cut the cord for cable, we stream everything. So I have to manage my data every month, and it's usually fine. But because my daughter and I both play games, sometimes we get, we'll download a new game, and that can eat up a lot of data. So to manage it, so I don't, like, fall asleep watching TV and it just keeps playing episode after episode, I have it stop. So that it doesn't just eat my data when I'm sleeping or something. Because sometimes I'll fall, like, Kathy was out of town, so I did fall asleep watching Friends each night because I was alone and I don't like being alone. So
the truth is coming out on this episode.
But, I'm sorry, guys, but I had it. If I had fallen asleep with it just where it was normal Netflix, it would have just kept streaming all night, and that's eating up my data for nothing and my electricity because the TV turns off when it stops and all that. So that's kind of my thought process. But real quick, before we get into Garden State, because we powered through all the movies, we didn't do like what I normally go into a little detail for each film, but I do want to talk about The Equalizer real quick. Have you ever seen The Equalizer, Corey?
No. So
I had not either, and I bought the first one on Blu-ray because FYE had it. If you bought anything in the store, you got it for $5. And it was Blu-ray with digital, so I was like, sweet, I'll snag that.
Didn't it close?
Not the one here did, but the one in Lakeland has not, which is not where I got it. So sad. I was at the Altamont Springs Mall for a screening of Sorry to Bother You, and I bought a couple things there. They had Rogue Nation Steelbook for $10 with digital Blu-ray, and I needed that one to complete my Mission Impossible collection, so I snagged that. And then they had that for $5, and they had a brand new Weird Al pop vinyl where he's in his Fat costume from the Fat music video, and I had to have that because I'm a Weird Al nerd. And but so I watched Equalizer the other night with my friend David, who's the editor at BurkeReviews.com, and with my daughter. And I really like the first half, maybe even the first 3 quarters, but definitely the first half. And I just saw Equalizer 2, and it's the same problem. The movie starts really character driven, and you have this really, super awesome. You don't know what he is in the first movie, so I'm not going to go into the specifics. But he is very, very good at what he does, and that's how he is depicted. That he is the best at something, and by the end of the movie, it's like he forgets who the character is, and he becomes like Kevin McAllister from Home Alone, and he's luring criminals into rooms that he has set some random booby traps, but not nearly as planned as like Kevin McAllister or the character that we met at the beginning of the movie. Like, he just goes rogue, and you're like, who is this character now? And it's not Denzel's fault. I assume it's the writer's fault. Antoine Fuqua is the director, but Richard Wenk wrote the first film, and I think, he wrote the second. So I attribute it to him not knowing how to end the movies, because they go way over the top with action at the ends, and Equalizer 2 is unfortunately worse than the first one. Partly, definitely script-wise. I was laughing at some of the choices they made, because, like, he's lured these bad guys to a place and has taken the time to, like, apparently printed a bunch of pictures and just stapled them to a wall. Like, it's just so contrary to who the character has been established to be. And the character in the first half of the movie, I think, is really interesting, and I like him, and I'm really compelled by him, and a lot of it is Denzel, but just his acting, but it's also the character's intriguing, because, again, I'm trying not to spoil the first film for people. The second film, there's no question of who he is right from the get-go. We're reminded of who he was in the first movie, in the first half of the first movie. But I still like them. I like the second one less, but I think there's something. It's so strong in the first half, and then it just plummets, in my opinion, the second half. And I just wanted to point that out. So my review for Equalizer 2 will be up by Monday. My review for The Equalizer will be up tomorrow, which will be yesterday when you're hearing this, because this comes out on Sunday. But, so I think, Corey, unless you have anything else you want to talk about before we get into our review of Garden State.
I'm sorry, I'm yawning a lot, guys. No, I'm good.
All right, well, let's get into the stats for Garden State. It's from 2004. It is directed by and written by Zach Braff. It also stars Zach Braff, so you got the Holy Trinity there. You get Peter Sarsgaard, Natalie Portman, Ian Holm, kind of. He's in it a little bit. He is the father. And I guess that's the only people we really need to get into name-wise. There's a few cameos that show up throughout the film. Jim Parsons has a really small role. Gene Smart has a very small role. Ron Liebman, who is Rachel's dad and friend, so that was exciting for me. Did you notice young Ann Dowd?
No.
She's Natalie Portman's mother, which we only get in like one scene, but I've seen several films with Ann Dowd. She was in Hereditary, and she's in...
Is she the grandma?
No,
she's the crazy lady with the wheat. Oh, yep. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say slow your roll there. But yeah, she's always great. She was on the Leftovers TV series. She was in something else this year too. I'm trying to remember what it was. But she's a terrific actress. I almost didn't recognize her because she's very young, and she's in American Animals. That's what it was. That's super great too. Oh, and A Kid Like Jake. I saw all three of those films from last year, or this year technically. Sorry. And I was excited to see her when I realized it was her. But there's a lot of little cameos in the film. The premise, according to IMDb, is a quietly troubled young man returns home for his mother's funeral after being estranged from his family for a decade. And Corey picked this film because of our theme of the month of July is coming-of-age stories. And this one is like a midlife crisis type movie. He's trying to kind of find himself again. And midlife is definitely not accurate because I don't think he's quite that old. But
he's 26.
Yeah, so not quite midlife, but it's like that. It's kind of the same as The Graduate in a way. It's that
Sometimes it feels like it though.
Yeah, not untrue. And he's in a state of essentially Arrested Development, right? Like he's not really grown up because of the events of his past. He hasn't let go of things, and he's kind of being forced to come to terms with a lot in this movie. And well, frankly, I'm kind of curious, Corey. What did you think?
Well, I was really hoping for more music from the Shins.
Yeah,
I was.
there's only one song, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure one song. And I did really enjoy the soundtrack, and I did go cruising the internet looking for that on vinyl because I know it was sometime released for Record Store Day, I think on Orange Vinyl, and I, hadn't watched the movie. I'm sad that I waited this long, but it was one of those movies that so many that people loved, and I was kind of afraid. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but I loved it actually.
Oh, good. I do
loved
also
it so much.
Oh, really? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Natalie, I like Zach Braff, and a lot of people don't apparently. I like this movie. I like his. I think, Wish You Were Here. I always screw up the name of that movie, but I really like that film a lot.
I feel like that's the only other one of his that I've seen.
Well, and he just did Going in Style, I think is the name of the film. With it's the first one he's directed where he's not the lead, but it's Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, and Alan Arkin with Joey King, where they're the old men who robbed the bank. Like, he directed that.
Oh, yeah.
It's the first film he's not in it at all, I don't think, either. I think he's completely off camera for that. And I think that's it. I think he's only done the 3 films, but I like his 2 directed and starring ones. He's very similar characters in both. He likes to do the stoic, kind of brooding male lead. This one has a very famous trope, though, that I definitely want to start off with right now. Do you know what trope I'm talking about?
I'm really bad at this.
It's not something everyone will know, but it's something that people should know. And it's Natalie Portman's character. She's what we call, what the industry calls the Manic Pixie Dream Girl. And essentially, the Manic Pixie Dream Girl is introduced to the brooding, often, stoic male lead who is trying to find themselves. And she exists basically to, for his needs. This is from the tvtropes.org. The Manic Pixie Dream Girl is here to give new meaning to the male hero's life. She's stunningly attractive, energetic, high on life, full of wacky quirks and idiosyncrasies, which obviously she's presented as a liar. And a few other things. Pathological liar. Often with a touch of wild hair dye. Hers is, I think, more the helmet. Which I think she explained, but I don't remember what she said it was.
Epilepsy.
She will focus her crazy antics until he learns to live freely and love madly, which definitely fits for this role in this film.
Okay, I'm happier not knowing that.
Well,
worst woman ever.
No, but I mean, it's something that I think we should always draw attention to because Natalie Portman's character doesn't really seem to have any ambitions of her own outside of, like, she meets this guy randomly and she definitely pushes him to, break out of his stoicism and find love and to really embrace life. And part of his stoicism in the beginning of the film is that he's been heavily medicated by his psychologist, who is also his father, which is ethically
I feel like that's
wrong.
I was just about to say that is. I can understand. Like, I kind of, I don't know how to explain my job, but I kind of work in the medical field, very non-clinical. But I was like, that's. I can understand people wanting to go to their family because it'll save them money and it's someone who might be personally invested in their care, but very unethical, I feel like, also, but...
Well, I don't think it was by his choice. I think his dad...
No.
Yeah. And the other doctor that he sees, which is the guy I just said who was Rachel's father on Friends, basically says that outright, like that you need a new psychologist and that's... Your dad knows better. There's a tragic story that I won't say here because this is non-spoiler area, but we will get into that. Explains Zach Braff's character, Andrew's kind of whole life and why he's been away from his family for 10 years. And, we see him kind of like just going through the motions. He's an actor, but he's also a waiter, which is a whole kind of funny sequence at the beginning. When the girl asks for bread and he's just like, we don't have bread. But I've seen this now twice. This is your first time. I've seen it twice. I still liked it. I am a fan of his, and despite knowing that Natalie Portman's character is a Manic Pixie Dream Girl, and I don't think that's good writing, I do think that a writer has the right to kind of work through what they're working through, and I do feel like Zach Braff is working through something here. I don't necessarily know what, but...
Well, I was reading that apparently some of this is based off of his real life.
Yeah, so from his perspective, he needed this love interest. And while I would like to think men don't just objectify women, he is writing solely from his point of view. I feel like I think this movie's heavily on Andrew, and while it's still a trope and it's not what we want our... I mean, you could argue that Deborah from Baby Driver fits into the Manic Pixie Dream Girl category. At the very least, she is an object of Baby's affection who has no apparent goals of her own as she meets him and is willing to give up everything she has to go off with him at a whim, and doesn't seem to have any goals of her own outside of being with Baby. And I feel like that one's much more obvious because I feel like Natalie Portman brings so much character and personality to the character.
Like, at first she was annoying. Like, I don't know if I could handle knowing a person like that or having them in my bubble. Sorry, it's a little too much for me. But I enjoyed watching it, like, and I don't know, like, the delivery of some of what she said was just so good.
Yeah. And man, she can bring some emotion though when she gets upset.
So we need to talk about this because, dear everyone, oh Jesus, now that I'm talking about it, I'm forgetting the title. What was that movie that came out earlier this year with her
Annihilation.
and the boy? Yes. So while we were being those people in the movie, I just turned to my friend and I was like, she needs an Oscar for crying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's the best crier I think I've ever seen on film.
And we know who the worst is.
Well,
Claire Danes.
That's John's opinion.
Oh,
I'm a fan of Claire Danes.
You can't say she's a good crier, though, right?
I can't think of anything that she's crying. I can't.
Romeo and Juliet. And
oh, God.
Igby Goes Down.
I haven't seen Igby Goes Down. I own it.
You should watch it and wait, because she cries exactly the same way that she cries at the end of Romeo and Juliet, and it's just as bad. It literally sounds like Goofy laughing.
She's always going to be Angela Chase to me. Anyways.
See, you gotta let things like that go. But nonetheless...
no! Because Jordan Catalano will always be Jordan Catalano 30 years later.
Yeah, Jared Leto, though. I mean, come on.
Then he went and played the freaking Joker. Okay, moving on.
Well, I think it's clear that Corey and I both liked Garden State. It's not available to stream for free, but it is available on all digital platforms for $10, and you can get it on. I'm wrong. It's on HBO Go. I forgot all about HBO. It is on HBO. If you have access to HBO, you can watch Garden State right there, or you can order it on Blu-ray or DVD on Amazon. Pretty cheap. I think it's like $6 or something for Blu-ray, $7 something. So there's definitely ways to get it. It is. If you go to, I've always found it at like every used DVD store. Like because I think this was a really popular film back when it came out, and then people either grew out of it or maybe turned against Zach Braff, or they bought it because a friend said it's really great. And it's very indie. It's definitely got an indie vibe to it. And if that kind of thing annoys you, and some people really hate the Manic Pixie Dream Girl trope, like you mentioned, she kind of got on your nerves at first. Some people that never goes away, and so there's a small chance you may not like elements of this film. It works for us. We're going to get into spoiler territory. So, Corey?
Dun, dun, dun. Guys, starting now. Spoilers. You've been warned. We're going to talk about this movie in great detail. Boom.
We have not talked about Peter Sarsgaard yet, and...
Okay, I kind of like him a lot. I haven't seen him in a whole lot, but I've liked him in everything that I've seen him in.
I feel like I've seen him more, and yet at the same time, like, he's the villain in Magnificent Seven, which is not necessarily a great performance. It's very over the top. Of course, that's also Antoine Fuqua, who I just was kind of berating for Equalizer 1 and 2. I saw him in Black Mass, but I don't remember him in Black Mass. Blue Jasmine was a Woody Allen movie he was in. I saw he's the villain in Green Lantern, which I don't know. We forgave Ryan Reynolds. Do we forgive him? I don't know.
He's the husband in The Orphan, a movie that I love.
I need to watch that movie. This movie keeps coming back into my...
Oh my god, it's so creepy!
I need to watch this movie.
Oh my god! And it has
Vera Farmiga.
It has yes.
Yeah, I know. I just clicked on it
Boundaries.
too. But that's not the movie I was thinking. Orphanage is the movie I need to watch.
Doesn't that have Katie Holmes?
I don't know, but it's got a director who now I
No,
can't
that's
think of.
Guillermo del Toro. No,
What?
The Orphanage.
It's
I'm
somebody
sorry.
who just did something I saw that I really liked. Or maybe I don't know. It's whoever, whatever it is.
It is Guillermo del Toro.
Well, then maybe that's not it. I can't. It's not coming to me, obviously. But in Shattered Glass, I saw, which I'm a big fan of. Shattered Glass. It is the best Hayden Christensen film, by far. And poor Hayden Christensen, indeed. But I really like this character of Mark, that is the old friend of Andrew, who he kind of falls back in with. And there's a couple of scenes with them doing drugs, which are funny. The scene when he wakes up after doing all the drugs, Andrew, and he's at Mark's house, and Mark's mom has slept with a knight from the medieval times, who is Jim Parsons, Sheldon, from Big Bang Theory.
Confused about that. I'm so confused about that whole situation, because it seems like she knows him really well. So do they work together, and this is like the first time?
Yes.
It doesn't...
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, she is like a cook there, I believe, or like works in the restaurant, and he is a newly acquired knight at the medieval times. And yeah, it's their first time fooling around, or at least that's the implications. Obviously, Mark went to school with him, so there's a huge age difference. Mark is not happy that this guy he went to school with is banging his mom. There's some funny jokes. Zach Braff, Andrew's character, has the word balls written on his head because he passed out at a party.
Oh my gosh.
But when he gets the MRI, and he's got it all written over like his whole chest, and oh man, that cracks me up every time, because I always forget.
Like, what the hell? Well, that's like what I wasn't really expecting about this movie, is I liked, like, yeah, it's indie, but I enjoyed so much of it visually. Like,
yeah.
Even if it wasn't like crazy $1 million editing, I just enjoyed it so much. And I love the opening scene where he's like on the plane, and the plane's like,
oh yeah,
going nuts, and you get the feeling this plane is gonna crash. It's like far beyond just some normal turbulence. Everybody else is flipping out.
Yep.
And he is just sitting there with all of this going around him, just totally numb, not reacting, whatever. And so there were just like little things like that I really liked.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see why people don't like this type of movie. I should note this has a 7.5 on IMDb user score and a 67 Metacritic, so it's overall positive. Some of the critics that I listen to, I've heard bash films like this. I like these type of movies. Maybe I relate to them. It is a white male, often centric film when we have things like this. That's not why I like it, but it is, sometimes I feel off. I feel out of place. I mean, it is one of those films where I could see also you don't like, because he appears to be well off. Like, we see him working at a restaurant, but like there's a scene where the guy's getting Andrew's getting money. Like, he's going and he's having to do all these weird things to get a present for him, and he's just like, dude, if you needed money. And so, like, the implications there. And now his dad is a psychiatrist. We get the vibe that he's being taken care of, maybe even by his dad, and that he's okay financially. Like, he's a waiter, and he's an actor. He was in some TV show that we hear about.
Every single person in LA, I feel like
it's a trope, right? It's a standard. Like, if you're an actor, you're paying your dues by being a waiter at some restaurant.
I want to talk about too. I love that scene where it like shows him in the traffic, and it shows everybody going into, I'm assuming, downtown LA, and there's like nobody coming the other way, like outside. I thought was pretty funny. And then I love when he apparently got gas, and oh gosh,
he leaves the nozzle in the car.
And it broke.
Yeah.
So, and then he walks into the restaurant. The owner's like giving him hell. It's like super stressful, super high paced, really whatever. And then he walks out, and at some point he's smeared some eyeliner around his eyes. Yeah. And it's like super chill and calm. And then that woman is bitching about wanting bread.
We don't have bread.
The contrast, yeah. It's like, well, I don't know.
No, I agree. I like so much of the film. there's some really cool scenes, like him speeding on the bike with the sidecar. But again, a lot of those are like little indie things that people can get annoyed by. I tend to like those little things.
I don't know. I thought that it was fun.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Again, it's just one of those things I think people either latch on to or you latch against. Like, this is going to be a pet peeve of mine. Movies that have these quirky things and do these weird moments. Like, we hear him talk about, like, he hasn't cried since he was a kid, and we learn about his mother, that he had pushed her and she fell and hit her head or hurt her neck and was paralyzed from the neck down because of him. And then because of that incident, he's basically lived his life as though he was this evil, horrible person. And
on lithium.
Yeah, diagnosed to control his anger that is debatable if he ever had. And I love the whole point, like he feels like so much of his life has been decided by a little plastic latch, because the dishwasher had a faulty latch that it would just fall open, and that's why she fell and hit her neck on that. He didn't mean for her to fall, and his point is, in any other moment that could have been nothing, but the way it happened made it a big deal, and it altered his life dramatically as a result of that one action, and he's allowed it to. And this is at age 26, he's finally deciding to make choices for himself. He's not going to live in the punishment that his dad has essentially put him in, and he's not going to be the person that everyone thinks he is because of that one moment in his life. And I appreciate that. I don't necessarily think he's innocent. You shouldn't push a person, and a kid putting their hands on their mother is definitely something I think we would all say sounds despicable, but we don't know. We don't get to see. There's no flashback. We don't see how they were. We don't know what was going on. But the person he appears to be doesn't seem to be a bad one. He doesn't do anything that would be... I mean, he does drugs, and that's wrong per se, but that's a debatable wrong. I think there's people who would side one way or the other with that.
He's not intentionally hurting anyone.
Correct. We don't see any tendencies of anger or violence. Even the dog starts humping his leg at the hospital, and she tells him to kick it in the balls, and he doesn't. He just is going to let the dog do its thing, which is definitely a metaphor. And I think some people might complain that a lot of the metaphors are kind of obvious, maybe even a little on the nose. But
some of us...
But I'm okay with that. I don't always disagree if the metaphor, like, if the movie doesn't outright say it, then I'm okay with it being a little on the nose with the metaphor. Because at no point do I feel like he says, maybe at the end, he might kind of say it at the end when he decides to not fly away, and he shows up and gets her out of the phone booth, which her crying in the phone booth is very, very much an independent movie type of sequence. But I also love it.
I ugly cry like that.
But it fit. Well, I mean, the fact that she's in a phone booth, but it fits her character.
Well, it was 2004 too.
I just mean to say that she decided not to leave the airport. That she decided to go find a phone booth and sit and cry. And again, ugly cry.
You have to gather yourself. You have to you can't go out and drive or get a ride looking like that.
The second argument I think would be that he found her in the phone booth. What are the odds that he would find her in the phone booth? Like, most likely he would have left the airport.
Maybe she's crying loud enough. No.
Someone's like, "You guys see that woman crying in the phone booth?"
Yeah, everyone's just like, So, again, with the visual things about the movie, in backing up a little bit. First of all, the lady singing at the funeral, I love that. It was just so bad.
Oh yeah.
It was just so bad. And then she made him a shirt, and she makes him try it on, and he's, put off because it's his mother's funeral, and then it matches the wallpaper.
Well, but don't forget, though, what's more, she takes a very passive-aggressive jab at him, in case I don't see you again for 9 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, that's...
F you.
Yeah, that was a very, low blow... Yes,
his mother's funeral, nonetheless.
Which he's probably feeling guilty about because he hasn't seen his mother for 9 years. And now she's gone. And of course he already had guilt issues because she was in a wheelchair because of him.
Also wondered, how welcome did he feel at home? I'm wondering.
Well, we get a lot of the vibe that him and his dad have a very tough relationship. So I imagine not very much, right? Not there. And the whole exploration. I like Method Man. I want to point that out. I'm a fan of Method Man. I like him as a rapper. I also I'm a fan of him and Redman's film How High. I've always found that movie to be funny. Not saying it's a good movie. That's one I could be defensive over. But I thought his character in this was a little bit much, because like some of the dialogue he gets, I feel like goes too far, with him being like upset about like them wanting the whatever it was he was giving him, the address or whatever, to get the necklace that was his mother's necklace that I guess she was supposed to be buried with, but I'm guessing somebody stole.
Yeah.
And yet Sarsgaard got it back to make sure it went to him and not in the ground. But we meet Dennis O'Hare's character Albert at this quarry, or like they were building a mall, and then there was like a natural Grand Canyon underground is how they describe it in the film, and he's living in a boat on the edge of it, which is again, very independent film type situation.
It's fine, I would totally do that.
Yes, but and then there's like I mentioned, the blatant metaphors, because Zach Braff tells him, "Good luck exploring the infinite abyss," and then his response is, "You too." So yeah, very blatant, obvious metaphor for life. It's an infinite abyss, and it's a little cynical and a little sad, but at the same time not, because you're exploring it. And
if you're aware.
Yeah. I think, and that's, the movie definitely ends on the upbeat, happy note, partially thanks to the manic pixie dream girl. He's found love, and he's going to not run away from it. He's going to embrace it. And that's the ending, I guess, right? Like, it's him telling her that he wants to see where this goes, that he loves her, and she's clearly in love with him, and I really like that a lot. One of the things that when I first saw this film, and I had forgot when I was watching it the second time, I couldn't remember what was off with her, but we know she was at the doctor, the neurosurgeon type brain doctor guy, that's where he meets her. I get this feeling when I see the movie that we're going to get a reveal that she has like cancer and only has so much time to live, and they don't do that. But each time my brain goes to that, where I'm like, oh my god, there's going to be some reveal later in the film that she's dying, and this is all like, it's going to mess with him more. But maybe he'll just embrace what time he has with her. But that's not what happens, and I do appreciate that, because it definitely could have gone that direction. I mean, she has epilepsy, which it could be, a life-threatening illness. I have had friends who have died from epilepsy, and it's nothing to look, it's not serious, but
no.
It's not like she has a brain tumor and 3 months to live, which is where I thought the movie was going to go.
Gives it like this ridiculous sense of urgency.
Yeah.
I kind of, I don't know. I don't really know. I didn't realize that was Method Man. Oops.
Really?
Method Man? Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy who's apparently like showing people like prostitutes having sex in the hotel that he works at as a bellboy.
Yeah, I can't even handle that.
Yeah.
I thought, though, I don't know. I like Dennis O'Hare a lot, so I didn't know he was in this, so that was a happy surprise. I love that scene. That's the cover. Some of the versions of the movie.
Yeah, them in the
where
trash
they're
bags.
yelling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, I like that scene a lot too. Again, we talked about Sarsgaard, but kind of bounced around. But I really liked him as the kind of quirky wingman of sorts. The unexpected wingman too, because it's not something he's looking for, but he kind of like forces his way back in. Even he's a collector. He has lots of little investments, and he has the Desert Storm trading cards. Which I
like the characters a lot in this movie, and I don't feel like, while necessarily this isn't stuff that hasn't been done before, I still thought it was pretty unique.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I liked people in it a lot.
I agree.
And the friend that has invented silent Velcro.
Yes.
And
I'm trying to find who that is. I don't see an image that looks like the guy. I don't know if it's I don't know who it is, because like none of these descriptions look right. Like obnoxious girl or Dave. Is it Dave?
I think that it might be Dave.
And then it's Alex Burns, and he doesn't have an IMDb photo, so maybe it was just like a one-time did this movie with Zach Braff, or was it Kenny? If it's Kenny, it's Michael Weston, and that kind of looks like him, but he's got like facial hair. I don't know. Either way, I like that element too, that he's like got tons of money because he invented silent Velcro, which I don't know if that's real.
With our lives.
Yeah, but yeah, I also enjoy this film. I think it's really fun. We know that our friend Mike, who does the top 5 movies with Corey and I, is a fan of this film. In fact, had this on his top 5 dynamic duos that we did recently. And so yeah, I'm glad you finally got to see this, because I wasn't sure watching this, because a lot of times I would say, Corey, that you're a little quirky yourself, and I
don't know how to take that, but we'll roll with it.
I think it's a compliment.
Okay. You think?
There have been movies where I expect you to like them because of characters with weird quirks that you've hated. The one that comes to mind the most is Hello, My Name is Doris.
Excuse my language, but I hated that movie.
Yes.
And Sally Field was adorable in it, and I guess that I just really hated all the characters that they were trying to... I also hated While We're Young. I just...
Yep.
I don't know.
Which I can see why you would hate that movie, and like not you, but like the general. Like I could see people. I think with While We're Young, you either latch on or you don't, and that's going to be a huge in or out. And I guess that's kind of true with Zach Braff too. But I'm not always a big fan of Ben Stiller. I definitely don't like him in a lot of comedies. That seems unfair. I think I got very set in my dislike of him from Meet the Fockers and Meet the Parents and that whole set of movies. And but like I like him in Along Came Polly, which is not a great movie, but I like that movie. Philip Seymour Hoffman is hilarious in that film.
I like him, even though he's like supposed to be a detestable person. But I really like him. And now I'm forgetting the name of the movie. Reality Bites.
Yeah. You know, that movie's got that same kind of hipster vibe, but before hipsters were a term. But you know, it's definitely that kind of you know, anti-establishment, you know, it's the same rebelling against the norm of the status quo type thing that hipsters are, I think, ironically now. I don't know. It's the same type of thing, but there's a different attitude. I feel like when Reality Bites came out, that was an endearing quality, and now like hipsters have this kind of negative connotation about them that like if you call someone a hipster, it's almost more derogatory than it is complimentary.
I get really offended when you call me that, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Well, like, I know that you're just kidding, but...
True. Maybe. Kind of. I mean...
Damn it, John.
I would say you have hipster qualities that... Now, that to say that hipsters do things that are...
They're kind of douchey.
And see, that's definitely not my intention, because I have another friend that I used to do another podcast with, who... I also call hipster all the time, and he does a lot of hipster type things, which again, I think, you know, being outside of the mainstream is a quality that the hipsters often and of course usually they start outside the mainstream, and the mainstream assimilates, like vinyl records, for example, which you've been collecting long before it was cool, hence the hipster reference. And now though it's become a norm, like where, you know, people are now almost every artist releases their albums on vinyl, which was not the thing when you started collecting vinyl, right? Like
No.
it was an obscure thing. Like you had to go only old albums. Now artists are completely doing that because it's a way to sell physical media, because no one's buying CDs, but they'll buy vinyl.
I think sales were up 19% last year.
Yeah, vinyl is on the uprise, meaning that the people who were collecting it ahead of time are now in the mainstream. So I don't know, are you going to start collecting like 8-tracks or cassette tapes again, which is a thing that exists?
I do get a few cassettes, but I am also no fool. I remember what a pain in the neck those were.
Yeah,
Like,
cassette tapes are... Like, vinyl I get. Cassette tapes, I'm like, no, there was nothing better about cassette tapes. Cassette tapes were
because they're
convenient.
fun.
Yeah, well, they're
And
convenient.
So I was a kid.
I do I miss mixtapes.
Yes. Yes, me
and
too.
not mixtapes, like, because you can make a playlist, but that's
It's
like,
not the same.
I miss sitting all day listening to the
record
radio to record that song that you didn't want to buy, but you really, really wanted a copy of.
Or
And
some of us were really poor, John.
Yeah.
Or we didn't
Or
have a music store.
Either. And you would have, like, you would just hope the DJ wouldn't interrupt the song, like, early, like, come in, like, oh, that was so-and-so, or start the next song too fast. Like, you were just hoping to get a good take of that song. And even if you didn't, you had that, and that was your copy of the song. So every time you heard it, the DJ would come on and be like, oh, that's the 9 at 9. And you're like, oh, stupid jerk DJ. But I missed that, even though it wasn't perfect, because those mixtapes had personality to them. I spent my day making this tape, like, those, when I listened to it, I knew what I went through. It was a memory. It was almost an experience, like going to a concert. I miss that, because the playlist I can slap together in minutes, and it's all polished and whatever. But
I even miss mix CDs. I don't know. They do take so much more thought. You actually have to hand somebody. There's something about handing them something that they can actually hold.
Well, and too, with a CD and with a cassette, it's limited, right? A playlist, I can make a playlist 15,000 hours if I wanted to, but
Word.
limiting yourself to like 20 songs, like, okay, what 20 songs am I going to put on this CD? And you can do that with a playlist, but it's not a real restriction. It's a self-restriction. Like, I am saying no more than 20 songs. But a CD was saying no more, because that's all I can hold. Or a tape, it's 30 minutes on each side, or 45 minutes on each side, something like that.
Yeah,
like
something like that.
It was limited, so you had to make a decision. Playlist, it's strictly up to you to decide how long you want them to be. And we're getting silly here, but my point is, this movie kind of has that vibe to it, and I can see people not clicking with it because of that, or clicking with it because of it. And again, you look at it, it's got positive ratings all the way around. I like this film. It works for me. Corey liked this film, which I am glad, because I was a little worried this would fall into that side where it was too annoying. And I think it all falls on Natalie Portman's shoulders. I think if you like her, you like the movie. And if you don't like her, I think you dislike this film.
I feel like I haven't seen enough of Natalie Portman stuff, let's be real. But I just feel like I haven't seen her really in a role like this.
Okay, so I've seen her in a lot, but I'm counting like the Star Wars prequels, which
I've seen those.
I don't dislike her in those movies. We did watch Black Swan together, right?
Well, I saw that in theaters.
Okay, so we didn't do that for Aronofsky. I watched it for Aronofsky, but we didn't do a podcast for it. Annihilation, we saw.
V for Vendetta, I love that movie.
Oh yeah, great. I saw Jane Got a Gun, which was mediocre.
I wanted to see that.
I have not seen Jackie, which she won the Oscar for. I tried to watch Song to Song, the Terrence Malick film, but I only got like 10 minutes in, and I just couldn't take the style of it. I've been meaning to try going back to it, but I have not. She's good in Thor. I don't, the first two Thors. I don't necessarily love her performance there, but I don't dislike her there.
Okay, I love Where the Heart Is. I love that movie.
I don't think I've seen that.
I love it. She plays Novalee Nation, and she's pregnant, barefoot and pregnant, in one Walmart.
Okay, I kind of remember that. I think I saw Darjeeling Limited, the Wes Anderson film. I don't think she's in it much. I think she's just in flashbacks, and I think she's in the short film with Jason Schwartzman, if I'm not mistaken. Cadillac something or other. I don't see it on her list though. I've seen Zoolander, but I don't remember her in it.
She's been in 2 Paul McCartney music videos.
Yeah, and I still haven't watched Heat. Oh, and of course, God, you haven't seen Leon the Professional.
No, and I need to.
Yeah, I think that was on Mike's list too, or was that on his?
No, I think that it was.
So he had 2 Natalie Portman movies on his list. I didn't realize that.
I love when people do that and they don't even realize.
I'm sure he realized, because
Probably. He loves her.
She's super young in Leon the Professional, and she's amazing in that movie. Like, the role she has to play is outstanding. I am definitely a fan of hers. I recently saw an article. I wish I didn't read the whole thing. I just saw somebody claim that she's overrated as an actress, and
she's the best crier ever.
She definitely seems to have that skill down, and she's really good in this with that. So I would say I think I'm going to stay with Not Quite Golden for my rating for this film. And where would you place it, Corey?
I'm going with must see.
Good for you.
I'm
That's
happy about
one
it.
of the few times you didn't hedge, and I like that.
I know.
So for our next episode, our last episode for the coming of age movies, the month of July, we're gonna be watching.
This is so more your type of movie too. Like, I'm glad that you had more picks than me this month because
We didn't. We had 2 each. In fact.
oh, I thought we had 5 weeks. We ended
No,
up with 5 movies.
July was only 4.
So obviously I can't count.
It's okay. I think last month you had 5. Or maybe I don't remember. But either way, City of God is a film that I've been trying to watch for a while, and I kept putting it off because I knew I really had to sit and watch it, and I know it's supposed to be a really tough watch at times. It's 2 boys growing up in a violent neighborhood of Rio de Janeiro take different paths. One becomes a photographer, the other a drug dealer. Yeah, I think there's some truth to the story or something like that. Like, it's supposed to be a very, very tough watch, and visually supposed to be excellent. It's a 79 Metascore, 8.6 IMDb user score, directed by Fernando Mariels and Katia Lund, co-directed, based on a novel by Paulo Lins, and screenplay by a name I will butcher if I try, so I'm not gonna. But I did do some checking this time, Corey, and it is available to stream on Netflix. So if you have a Netflix account, you can watch City of God for free. And you can email us your thoughts on City of God at contact@burkreviews.com, or you can hit us up on social media. I am at Burke Reviews. Corey?
At Corey R. Star, 2 R's on the end.
And you can read all of our reviews and writings and ramblings on burkreviews.com. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep watching movies. This has been a Burke Reviews podcast. burkreviews.com.